Hello and welcome to my first ever video blog. My name is Shawnee O'Brien. I am a certified speech and language pathologist through the American Speech Language Hearing Association and a certified autism specialist. I currently work in the autism intensive learning program over at Aspen Creek K-8 in Broomfield, Colorado as part of Boulder Valley School District. And I am doing this video blog today to show, let's see, how do I explain this? So part of what we do in our autism program is something called video modeling, where we take videos of our students and of other students and of other characters and actors demonstrating a desired social skill or a target social skill that we want to help our students learn to do. One of the hallmarks of autism spectrum disorder is social communication deficits and challenges. And as we are learning as a society and in our school district and as a school, social emotional skills are extremely important, not just for students with autism, but for all students. And one of the most strong and evidence-based practices for teaching social skills and many other skills is video modeling. So today I'm going to show you one way that I use video modeling to help my students learn a little bit more about social skills and to make it fun and interesting for them, because my students range in age from 3 to 13, so I have to differentiate out based on age and interest. Specifically, this video today is based on a Pixar movie, so it's really good for children ages kindergarten to 3rd grade about, depending on their developmental level. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now and show you a video that I have made using an application called EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle allows you to take any video from YouTube or any open source free video content, modify it, edit it, add questions, add commentary, etc., to make the video viewing more engaging. For those of you who do work with or have a student with autism, you know that videos are often very engaging all on their own because of the visual aspect and because they're just interesting and fun. We all like to watch movies and TV. But EdPuzzle adds a more interactive component through the use of questions that students must answer before they can move on. This is also a great data gathering component as well, because those answers then go into my EdPuzzle interface, which shows me all of their responses, and I can track those responses' accuracy over time as they watch the videos many times. Again, if you do work with students with autism, you know that many of them like to watch the same movie over and over and over, which is a great way for us to use their strengths to help teach them and challenge them and grow them in their areas of need. So this video is from a Pixar movie called Despicable Me, and it really shows one of the key features of social skills that we use to teach our younger students, which is about personal space. Knowing where your body is in space is a sort of a thing that we don't explicitly teach a lot of kids, because children who have typical developing social skills tend to learn this is where my body ends and the world begins, or this is where my body ends and your body begins, and these are implicit understood boundaries socially. But students with autism spectrum disorders sometimes have trouble learning that, or they don't understand that the way that maybe they hug and treat their parents and siblings isn't appropriate in school with peers or teachers, and some of that those context clues aren't always specific to them or explicit to them, and we don't always teach those. So teaching personal space skills is something that we often overlook when we think about neurotypical children, but is a really critical key for teaching children with autism spectrum disorders. So that's enough talking and introducing. Let's go into the video, and I will stop and tell you about it as we go. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, and you will see this is my EdPuzzle interface. So I can see all the videos I've made here. And the one I want to show you today is from Despicable Me. And we'll just watch it. You can see down here, these green question marks are all of the questions that I've added in. And then I can kind of show you what I use that question data for when we finish with the video. We'll just watch a few questions just to kind of get you familiar with the style. So we'll make it nice and big. And my kids love this when I open up my laptop and project it to the TV screen and then show them a movie. Usually I use this as a start to a social skills group because they like to watch movies, and that gets them over to the table excited and engaged and ready to learn. So here we go. Hey. And right there, we have our first question. And the question is, why didn't Gru say hi? What emotions can you see on his face? So it's a two-part question that links together. And I think this is a really important way that we do this. So this question automatically differentiates for the teacher or the paraeducator who's using this video. These videos are great for paraeducators to use, or for parents to use, or for substitute teachers to use, because the expertise is built in, and it doesn't require someone to know some secret about kids with autism. They just can do this video and I can take that data and interpret it. But what's great about this question is the first question is a why question. And why questions are naturally more difficult for all learners. But if a student in your social skills group can answer this question right here, why didn't Gru say hi? Then you kind of get an idea of where they are at developmentally with their receptive language, their expressive language, their emotional awareness, and social detective skills, we often call them. So if a student can answer, why didn't Gru say hi, you can put that in there. We'll just say sample student 1 said because he is busy. So right there, we can get a lot of information from an answer like that. They're looking at Gru's body language, that he has something in his hands, that his eye gaze is directed at that object, clearly showing that he's not interested in a social interaction at that time. The second student in your group might have more trouble and say, I don't know, or say Gru, or say something else. And you can cue a more socially aware or emotionally aware answer by asking the follow-up question, what emotions can you see on his face? This question is formed this way because we really want our students looking at people's faces. That's a key hallmark challenge for students with autism. And the human face holds a lot of the answers to social context questions and social mishaps. So we can see right there, we always like to direct our students toward eyes, eye gaze, eyebrows, and mouth. You can't see Gru's mouth right now, so we really want to look at eye gaze and eyebrows. And this is where I would hope that a student would say, he's angry. Gru is angry. Or maybe Gru is annoyed or frustrated. Or irritated. And we can start to talk about synonyms that expand off of the word angry, because most students know happy, sad, mad, but there's so much more nuance in human interaction than happy, sad, mad. And there's also ways that words and bodies don't always match, and ways that eye gaze can help students understand the direction of that anger or that happiness or that sadness. Many of my students think that when someone shows an angry or upset face, that automatically they're in trouble or they're the cause of that. Or, students will get into conflict on the playground, and I'll say, what happened? They say, well, he was mad at me. And we find out that that student was actually angry about something else because their eye gaze was directed towards something else. So lots of rich information just in this one question. What's great about EdPuzzle is you can set it so that they can't move on to the next part of the video without filling something in here. So once the adult or the student, if they're high enough, usually an adult is facilitating this, types in these responses, we click submit, and then we just make sure, and I usually say to students, is this right? Is this what you want to say? And if they say no, we can refresh it and go back. If they say yes, we click continue. Now we notice a big change in Gru. His eyes have moved to a completely different place. He's no longer looking at the object, but looking at the person in his interaction. So we have lots of questions for this. What is he looking at? What is he trying to look at? Kind of expands upon that looking question. And then how does he feel about Vector sitting next to him? And this is where students can start to make inferences, because we really can't see much change in his facial expression. We still can't see his mouth, but we can see and remember from our previous question that he's already irritated, so we can guess how he might feel about Vector sitting next to him. So we'll skip this question to go on to the next.
I'm applying for a new film loan. Go by the name of Vector.
Now, Vector just violated Gru's personal space. So this first question really gives the answer, really supports students getting engaged in the task by giving a model. So I'm just telling them off the bat, Vector did violate Gru's personal space. And now we want to know how, or by what action. And I made this question multiple choice because, again, I'm scaffolding and building up that social skill awareness of what actions that we make cause reactions in others. So did Vector look at his newspaper? Because that could be possibly a way that would make somebody feel a little bit uncomfortable, like when someone's reading over your shoulder. That makes a lot of us uncomfortable. Saying his name is a really common, appropriate social interaction, which Vector did not do. So that really helps gauge a student's understanding of what's happening, or if they're just, often our students will script what they think the right answer is. So they'll give a positive, like saying his name, because we teach them that saying someone's name is an appropriate greeting. So this gets you some content information about a student's, if they're scripting a response that they think is right because they don't really understand what's happening yet, or if they're really engaged and understanding what's happening. A student can be very engaged and still say this incorrect response because they don't have the receptive language or comprehension or the processing speed to keep up with where we have gone so far. So that's a great way to check yourself as an educator. Am I moving too quickly for a student in my group? The other thing that I like about this is a one answer consensus. So you can pick a few answers and that'll give you some correction. But really, it's a great opportunity to help your social skills group work together to consensus on one answer, to decide this is the answer we want to give Miss Shawnee. We want to say that he was touching Gru with his body. And then we would click submit. And that green arrow right there says, yes, you got it. You got the right answer. We can start it over. So this time, Vector said his own name, and maybe that's a little confusing. So let's submit that one and see what happens. Oh, the right answer is down here. So it does give some immediate feedback on these multiple choice questions, whereas the fill in the blank questions or the short answer questions obviously can't give some immediate feedback, but these multiple choice ones do. And this rewatch button is great. So if we say, well, wait a minute, this green arrow isn't pointing to our answer, let's go back and watch again and see what we may have missed. So that's a great way to also teach students to double check and recheck and really go back and revisit a situation to see, to make sure they have all the details. Often when we have students with autism in conflict, they don't remember exactly what happened accurately because they have a very narrow perspective oftentimes. And so to help them remember, like, we can always go back and look again, and that's okay. That doesn't make you wrong or bad to go back and look. One particular student that I worked with a lot in the last 2 years had a really difficult time with this. We actually created a fake remote control with a rewind, fast forward, pause, and play button. And we could always rewind the interaction and see what happened. And if he was too overwhelmed or uncomfortable with the emotions of that interaction, he could always hit pause, and then we would just come back to it later. That's a great way to give your students a locus of control and an opportunity to request a break non-verbally, but also remind them that there is some accountability, that it's just a pause. We will come back to it later, but you can have all the time you need to process. Because sometimes emotional interactions, especially with peers, can be very overwhelming for our students. So that's just a little bit about how I use EdPuzzle to use fun, interactive, interesting videos or movies or favorite things and modify them for my students in social skills groups. And we can really tackle a lot of different learning targets through these videos and groups. We have a lot of discussion, a lot of, well, let's check and see, like, I think this is what happened. Well, let's go back and look. A lot of negotiation, reaching a consensus, scaffolding questions, really progress monitoring, those kinds of things. And so what I can do from here in EdPuzzle is I can go up here. Let's see if you can see that. this little guy right here, the grade book. And in the grade book, it says there are no grades during this range of dates last 30 days because it's the middle of the summer and I haven't done any work with students since the school year. So let's look at, let's go all the way back through the semester, shall we? Okay. So now we've got some grades here. Here's the personal space issues video. And let's look at the grades here. Okay, so what this kind of shows is a few things. How much of the video was watched, the correct responses, because I haven't graded some of these short answer ones yet, and then the total grade. And what I can do is I can create a student, and then the student individually logs into the account and watches the video, or I can create a student, and that's my social skills group, and then they get all kind of graded together. Now, these grades aren't really reported necessarily. They're really for me to use for my own progress monitoring. Now, some of these have student names on them, so I'm not going to show them to you because of confidentiality. But what I would do is I would scroll down here. You can kind of scroll and look at the question and the responses, and what my substitute teachers, paraeducators, colleagues do is they write the student's name and then their response, and I can actually track over time how those names change. So if we go to next student, that's really my same social skills group. They did not watch at that time. And then here's the last one. We did watch the full thing. There's many reasons why maybe a group doesn't watch a video that day. Possibly there was a crisis or a schedule change or a fire drill or any number of things. So if we scroll down here, we can say, again, you'll see student names down there, so I won't show you those, but I can look and see if the same students had different responses over time. And that's I think a really important thing that we struggle with as educators in sort of the hubbub of teaching and running classrooms and doing IEP goals and all those things, and managing and improving behaviors, is data collection. And this is one way that data collection is just very easy. It's immediate feedback for the students. They get to see their ideas written up on a screen, which is really important to many of them, especially the younger ones who can't type or spell yet, or who do struggle with those things. And then you kind of get to look over time at how they're doing, and you can even show them over time. Last time, you only got 2 out of 10. This time you got 3. That's more. And then you're also incorporating concepts for our younger kids of more and less and growth, which I believe as they get older, students with autism need to become advocates for themselves and understand what progress is, what progress can look like, what it means when they're growing, and then how to address growth or improve their growth if they're passionate about improving in a skill, which many of them are passionate about improving in skill areas such as making friends or being in class more often or getting to go on special trips and things like that. So helping them have that feedback is really important. So I'll stop sharing my screen now and come back to you. So that's my first video blog demonstration. I hope to be doing many more of these in the future over the course of the school year. You can always email me. The email address is on the website right here, or call me at work. Email's probably better as I'm not always in my office. I'm often in the classroom teaching. So, but feel free to reach out any way that's comfortable for you. Feedback is always welcome as well. And I really look forward to reading your comments and seeing what you think. Thank you so much and have an awesome rest of your summer. See you in the school year.